Yeah, hi, Paul Slatkis. I'm speaking to Dr. Jordan Thomas. Hi, doctor. How are you?
Oh, thank you for inviting me, Paul. Very good. Thank you.
My pleasure. An author of a new book, Learn to Love. There you go. Guide, got I think a heart back there.
I see it.
Healing your disappointing love life.
Yes, sir.
I want to just start with one thing. See, I was a producer of a soap opera. The name of
Uh-huh.
the soap opera was called Love of Life. And it was on CBS, and it was one of the oldest, no, second oldest soap opera. The word love of life, does that mean you have to love life? Does that help so you don't have a disappointing love life because you're happy with life yourself?
Uh-huh.
Start there.
I think it's fundamental. I think it's the basis. Loving life is where you start. If you're not in love with life, you're going to have problems in your love life. That's a guarantee, in my opinion. So loving life, I think that means loving oneself as a person and treating oneself well. And I think from there, love life involving other people is a lot easier. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there who don't love life, trying to have a love life. And it's a little bit harder.
So the when you love life, your life, are you say let's talk about us first before we within the relationship. When we
Uh-huh.
love life, does that mean we're at peace with ourselves? Does that mean we're accepting of ourselves enough to be compassionate, to be understanding of somebody else, no matter what their foibles we might think they have?
All of the above. Those two are very important in establishing a self-esteem. And a self-esteem involves, I'd add one thing to your list. The relationship we have with ourselves is very important, and I think oftentimes ignored. The relationship we have with ourselves involves how we treat ourselves, how we feel about ourselves, how we take care of ourselves. And I think that's also a fundamental part of a person's mental health.
Okay. Now you're an author. You talk to a lot of people. You're a clinical psychologist specializing in relationships. You have 30 years, and so you must have met a lot of different kinds of people. But
Yes.
what's in the book? Are there some threads that you recognize? Are there some things that what are some of the takeaways? So we can have, I'm also an interfaith, all faith minister. So I
Uh-huh.
marry people that even take that extra step in their relationship to uh, love for the rest of their lives, according to what they vow. Um,
Uh-huh.
what have you seen or what do you suggest?
Yeah. Um, the thing that I look at the most is learning. I think that there's what I call unconscious learning that goes on early in life. The type of relationships that surround us, our family of origin, the type of relationships we have with the people in the family of origin, what we observe living in the family of origin. It's a very powerful and very important classroom that teaches us a lot about love relationships. And if those experiences are healthy and good, chances are people will replicate and repeat them in their adult lives. If those relationships were not healthy, there's a chance that there's going to be unconscious repetition in adulthood that's unhealthy. And those are the people that I primarily have seen in my practice. I think there's a lot of suffering that takes place as a consequence of love life problems. And that was also a big attraction for me, as well as changes I made in my own love life in early adulthood. In my personal analysis, I made some changes in my own love life that helped me find a partner, and I've been married for 27 years. So I wanted to take that experience, that part of the experience I had in my treatment, and distill it so that I could come up with some basic ideas that people could begin to use to reflect on their own love life in a way that would be useful. So I believe learning is a very user-friendly concept. It's our greatest asset. Unfortunately, it's also our greatest liability. Because if we learn something unhealthy and we're not aware of it, as I indicated, we tend to repeat it. So my method is to look at what the relationship experiences have been in relation to teaching about love relationships and helping a person become conscious of them so they could enter a process of unlearning and learning something better.
Is there, in that process, say with our own family, is there a great amount of denial that someone might have within them, and until you sort of like get it out of them, they're not whole?
Yeah, denial is a common and very potent defensive activity that people do in order not to feel emotional pain. And it's something that unfortunately can become rigid. There are people that hang on to denial, even though there's a lot happening around them that disputes that denial, that encourages them to look beyond it. But fortunately, people get to a point where denial doesn't work that well for whatever reason that's going on in their emotional lives or in their interpersonal lives. And that becomes an opportunity to learn something new.
Is it hard to for some, as it has been also for myself, to open up and say how you actually really literally feel about something, or that you then maybe finally feel strong enough to do that and then take the consequences of that in a positive way, for better, for worse?
Yeah, in my experience, I use the treatment relationship that I form with people to establish trust. That's the first and most important first step. When people feel trust, they relax and they tend to be more open about their experiences. They know the person they're talking to respects what they're talking about. They know that the person is going to maintain a confidentiality. And in the privacy of a one-on-one interaction and relationship, I think people relax. And if they have reasons not to relax, mistrust, experiences in the past that have taught them to be weary of openness, of vulnerability, then that's the first items that you work on to help a person repair trust so they can move on to taking a look within without worrying so much that they'll be hurt.
Is it helpful to start off with almost a lead line saying, I'm not exactly sure what I mean by this, or I'm still trying to figure this out, but I don't like you for this reason.
I don't like you for this reason.
This is what I think I don't like about you. I'm trying to evaluate what it is that I don't like about you, but I know there's something. Because I care about you. I mean, some lead in line to soften the blow.
Of
honesty, of confusion, honesty, or trying to make something better than it is.
Yes, I have my qualifier. All right. My qualifier is I have something very important to tell you.
Oh, that's good.
Do I have your permission? It might be upsetting, but it's important.
That's good. That's good.
And once I get the permission, that's important. That's big. Now I can talk. And if I'm not interested in hurting the person, I'm intentionally interested in truth and honesty, even though it's uncomfortable, then I got some leeway.
And also next time they know, they can possibly say no.
Right. Right.
They've learned their lesson.
Right.
That's really good. Wow, 30 years, a long time. Why this field for you?
I took care of my depressed mother when I was a child.
Okay.
I mean, that's the honest response. She was a very psychologically aware woman, but not really, and it never had any treatment experiences, and she needed to talk about her emotional life. And I was the son out of 4 that had the experience of sitting with her. She opened up about it. I mean, I later had to deal with the burdens of that, because as a child, that's called a parentification of a child. You're kind of reversing the roles, so to speak. So But I think that was the beginnings of my interest. I used to read books on psychiatry and psychology, which I hid up in the attic. No kidding, to try to figure out what my mother was going through, so that was the early beginnings. Psychoanalysis is very interesting to me as a profession from that point on.
Well, no, what I think really was in addition to that, was of interest to you is that you are a loving guy, and
Uh,
that you're a guy who would spend that time with your mother,
uh-huh.
who you cared in essence probably the most, or maybe they cared, but you did something about the caring. You spent the little. I mean, actions are much bigger than words, right?
Uh-huh.
They're the proof in the pudding, right? And
Mhm.
so you literally, you know, you sat with her, you listened to her, you heard her say this or that, or so on and so forth. And that was a beautiful thing, enough that it helped you become a professional in a business, right? I mean, so you
Okay.
got you got a big win from it in the end, but never thought that to be
Uh-huh.
at the time, right?
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Thank you for
All
that.
right. For whatever, my mother was a librarian. I
Uh-huh.
didn't read books. I was a boob tube. I rebelled. She was librarian here at Temple Emmanuel. Now I've interviewed 2,000 authors, including yourself.
Oh
And
boy.
I never read anybody's book too, because somehow I can't do it too well because I feel I should be doing something else, but I don't know
Uh-huh.
why.
Uh-huh.
I'm waiting till I retire, and then maybe I'll feel comfortable spending like days and days reading a good book, and I'll learn more. I'd
Catch up
rather
on
talk. I'd
it.
rather have a conversation, and I've had the luxury to do that. So for you now, give us some of the highlights, an overview here of the book. What does the book do? How did you structure it?
Okay, I wrote it as a guidebook, number one,
You
because
have
I
it, you have it by you, near you right now? Do you have the book?
yes,
How can I show it?
and
Look
it
it up.
won 4 book awards as well.
All righty, a good man. How
And
many
it's
books awards you do?
self-published, self-published.
I'm giving you an award. Make it number 5.
um, I wrote it because I wanted to offer it to people in simple language, easy to read, not too long, that got at the issue of learning unhealthy things about relationship experiences. So it became a guidebook. It's in 3 parts. The first part is teaching people about the disappointing love life. What is it? There are 3 things about the disappointing love life that's important to realize. One is disappointments repeat. They tend to replicate earlier experiences. And number 3, they're recreated as a consequence of what we learn about love relationships from those relationship experiences that we have. So the first part of the book teaches about the disappointing love life. The second part, which is the center of the book, is I introduce the psychological love life. Now, that concept is the idea that your love life begins here, not between you and other people, what you bring to the party, so to speak. And your psychological love life contains the relationship experiences you've had in life, healthy or unhealthy, after effects if they were unhealthy, and what you've learned from those relationship experiences. And if you're not conscious of this psychological love life, it will repeat over and over again in your adult love life until you reach resignation. Resignation means the hell with this, it's too hurtful, I don't want to get hurt anymore. And unfortunately, there are quite a few people that have that experience. The third part is what I call the unlearning experience. My mentor and analyst, Benjamin Wolstein, taught me a few things in the course of my analysis. He passed on to me, and I mentioned it in the book, an idea that what we've learned can be unlearned and something better relearned. And I wove that into what I call the unlearning method. And it's a 3-step method. I invite people to be conscious of their psychological love lives, to begin to challenge the automatic unconscious aspects of that psychological love life, and to begin experimenting with opposite corrective kinds of experiences that they discover would be healing. For example, if you grew up in a home where unfortunately you had a parental abandonment. Finding people who are psychologically available and capable of committing to a love relationship would be the corrective, instead of people who replicate that abandonment, which unfortunately a lot of people do who have been abandoned.
Oh, wow, you're a winner. You're fantastic. You really have very helpful thoughts and a very logical approach. And I'm going to read your book. And
Thank you.
I'm honored to get to speak with you. I'm sure you've helped a lot of people because you're very, very, in my mind, quite practical and wise. So
Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate this knowledge. Why don't you hold up that book one more time? Learn to Love, Guide to Healing Your Disappointing Love Life. And it's Dr. Jordan Thomas. Dr. Thomas, do you have a website that you want people to
Yes,
go
sir.
to?
My website, yeah, my website's called lovelifelearningcenter.com.
All right. Well, we'll link that over there, and we have the text from the release about the book and all the good things, and some good feedback that you've already gotten, and awards. Congratulations there. And then I want to ask you before I ask you the last question, I will say another thing that I think is, I'm just saying it, if I close my eyes for 2 seconds, you sound like Ray Romano. And I want to say that I wish you the success of Ray Romano, meaning because this television show is on 46 times a day, I want people to be reading your book 46 times a day, because I think they're going to live happy and healthier.
That would be very gratifying, I have to tell you.
There you go. And it's wonderful. All righty. My last question, because we're involved with World Peace and the International Day of Peace, Peace Day, on September 21st. I ask a lot of people, and I think it goes along with what we're talking about. In fact, I know it goes along with it. What's peace for you? What makes peace for you?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Peace. What is peace for you?
Peace for me?
Yeah, peace.
I associate peace with a contentment in life. Contentment, reaching a stage in life where you feel that you can live in the moment and not be too preoccupied with what's going on at earlier times in your life, perhaps hurtful times in your life, or too worried about tomorrow. But being able to be in the present, in the moment. And I think when people do that, they love more, they care more, they're more sensitive to others. A lot of good stuff happens. And I think peace is one of them as well.
I love it. I love it. I'm just going to have one last word. When you live in, they say the now, right? N-O-W.
Now, yes, sir.
There you go. And you spell the word now backwards, you get W-O-N.
Won.
You won when you live on the moment.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That's in my book.
Thank you, Paul.
All right, let's go have a cup of coffee. We're neighbors, and sit down and we can speak more. And I'm very fortunate that we got the chance to speak together.
Great. Thank you for inviting me, Paul. Thank you.
All right,
have a good
take
one.
Care.
Okay, bye-bye.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.